Hi, I'm Ted Faye, and I like finding history. It can be in a museum, a hotel, a park, inside or outside, in a church, a house, a store, and of course old buildings and even ghost towns. Wherever there were people, they made history. So I've set out to find those cool places and things that have a great past. Just think of me as your history delivery guy, who brings you new and fresh servings of history to go. In this episode of History to Go, we travel to the living ghost town of Belmont, Nevada, with a current population of about 10. Its colorful history dates back to the year the American Civil War ended, 1865. Then, a big silver strike was made, and the population grew to more than 15,000. In 1867, it was made the seat of Nye County, and nearly a decade later, in 1875, the county commissioners approved spending $22,000 to build a brand new courthouse. Well, the granite for the foundation was quarried nearby. Bricks were made on site, and lumber was brought in by rail and mule team from the mountains of western Nevada. One newspaper reported, it was a modern-style architecture and presented an imposing appearance.
This is it, huh? This is the Belmont Courthouse. Look at that. Isn't that a magnificent structure? Look at that. Look at that.
I met up with Terry Terrace of the Friends of the Belmont Courthouse, a group dedicated to preserving this relic of frontier justice. Terry knows every inch of this building and brings the place to life with stories and tales like that of the county treasurer from the 1870s.
He was an old bachelor, and to save money, he actually slept in his office. This was the treasurer before the courthouse had been abandoned. And this individual was one who was fully trusted. He had borrowed some money from the county for a financial venture that occurred. And because it was a mine, there were mostly holes in the ground where you dumped a lot of money.
Yeah.
And he did. He then took a little more money from the county and he started a vegetable garden, thinking that, he'd make a lot of money on that. 7,400 feet, short growing season, drought, all the rest of it, not successful. The last venture he did with the county's money, he was going to have a fish pond.
I see.
He was going to make a lot of money off fish. We're in the middle of the desert. And it was not a situation where the fish survived. And he knew that there was an audit coming up. So he had chosen to take a little bottle of strychnine and swallow it. And he's the one person we know of that probably died in the courthouse. One of the interesting things on that was that when they finally settled his estate, it turned out that the debt owed was somewhere between $2,000 to $3,000. And on a $30 or $40 a month salary, he would have had a very hard time paying that back.
Well, it wasn't long after the demise of the treasurer that everything changed in Belmont. In 1900, a newer, bigger silver strike was made about 45 miles southwest at a place called Tonopah. Well, the county seat was moved there, and a new courthouse was built. While back at the abandoned Belmont Courthouse, the county hired a watchman to move in.
One of the things he did then was make this his living room.
Okay.
The next room, which was the recorder's office, he made into his bedroom.
Okay.
And so he didn't have to go out into a cold hall in the wintertime
All right.
to walk to his bedroom. He went into the vault, broke through the partition, and came out into the other room.
We're going to go through the secret tunnel to where the bedroom was. So, Terry, where are we now? We're emerging from this little secret passageway, and what was here?
This would have been the watchman's bedroom when the watchman was here. Prior to that, it would have been the county recorder's office.
On the walls, there's a lot of writing. There's a lot of this graffiti, right?
When the watchman finally was no longer needed, they no longer felt they would ever use the building again, they abandoned it. And because it was such a prominent building and stuck out so well in the community, everybody visited it at one time or another. Just about anything you can imagine in the way of graffiti that's been put on the wall.
Oh, yeah. So I see it says Charlie Manson and family, plus family, 1969.
Right, and we think, as far as we know, It was probably done by one of the girls.
Terry finally took me to the room that was the entire building's reason for existence, the courtroom. As I entered, it was easy to imagine a busy scene with a salty judge hearing cases of murder, thievery, claim jumping, assault, and other mining town crimes.
Well, this must have been a really impressive room. I mean, it's a big room, it's high ceilings.
Very much what you wanted the judge to be able to do. You wanted him to be in an impressive position above everybody else. It was laid out so that when you came in, you got the impression there was business going on here. From his chambers, there was a set of stairs here. It would have taken him up to about this level, and it would have gone out to this point here, and then that would have been the judge's bench. The next spot over here, this little zone in here, was where the witness would have sat. The jury would have been over here. There would have been two benches like the ones we see there. And the second row would have been a little higher than the front row so that they had a good view of the witness to be able to see if he was really telling the truth. And it wasn't until just recently we were able to find this, because it had been so covered with dust and dirt from the ceiling collapsing and so full of dirt that we weren't sure how it was set up. So once we had it cleaned and we could see the outline, it was almost like everything just fell into place.
So what you're telling me about where these things are, it really lets you know, it brings this whole area to life. Right. You can see the judge, you can see the jury out there, you can see the witness here, right? And the audience out there waiting, and maybe a bailiff not so happy over there, and the stenographer here taking the notes. All of these things really bring this courthouse to life. And so I understand why this is important to save.
But our story doesn't quite end here. There are a few other folks I met that had a passion for saving this place, and their enthusiasm is contagious.
When people were able to come in, it's history. It's a beautiful building. My legacy is that I had a hand in keeping this building from falling down. That's my legacy. We've worked hard. We've gotten a lot of donations, and we have a wonderful group of people that have helped us to keep this building from deteriorating. That's my legacy.
And that's great, because people in the future, young people now, will be able to enjoy it in the future. Exactly. And future generations will be able to see, right?
Right.
What that frontier justice.
They will be able to come in and walk through these hallways just like the people did in 1876, because of what our group has done to help preserve it.
And new discoveries are being made. When the original window panes were removed, inscriptions were found that told the delivery specifications, acting almost like a modern-day tracking record. Replica windows have been installed, which will protect the building from further decay. The courthouse has a new roof, and plans for restoring the interior one room at a time are underway.
For future generations, they can come and visit the grand old lady, you know.
And it was Henry Berg who started collecting artifacts around the courthouse to put into a small museum that once was the sheriff's office. And of all the items in the room, there's one that just may tell the future of the efforts to preserve this place.
Even now I'm thinking, Henry has started that museum, and a little boy came running into Henry after hiking out here last week, came in, found him, and said, "Look what I found. Henry, I want this in your museum." So it teaches young children preservation of important buildings and probably our lives.
And that's the mission and purpose of the Friends of the Belmont Courthouse. And we're glad they're doing the job that they're doing, because future generations will also be glad to see this living history and this living piece of the Western frontier.